Hey, folks, we are live. Well, we're partially live. There we go. We're live everywhere but the groups. And clicking the buttons, and we're live in the groups. Yes, yes, there we are. Oh, I look regal in this picture it's showing for the groups. So it is Thursday. It's the last Thursday of June, if you can believe it. Um, and yeah, it's summertime. I'm sure you all know that. I mean, well, I feel like everybody in the English speaking parts of the northern hemisphere is well aware of the fact that it's summertime, right? Because it is hot out. All right, let's do my everyone post. Everyone. Oh, that's right. I can't do it from here. I have to pop it open in another window. Do. Hope folks are doing great though. Surviving the heat is important, right? Oh, I don't see the stream. Yeah, there it is. Live in the Writing Wives group. This is one of those times when the post is just going to be invisible for a little bit. That's awesome. Let's see. Oh, it's weird. It doesn't show the video. It just shows the link. This is so weird. Hey, Emma. Yeah, I heard you guys were up to like 27, 28 degrees Celsius. I mean, that's like as warm as it is in this room right now, right? Convert 28 C2 Fahrenheit. That is 82. All right, 82 is getting to be like pool weather. That's the good stuff. I'm just gonna make my everyone post. Everyone. Today we're talking. Oh wow, that's ridiculous. Where in England was it 34? Hey Alex. I hadn't heard it got that hot in England. That's legit. 34 is definitely legit. For all of you Americans, 34 is 93 Fahrenheit. So that's like what it was here yesterday as well. It's crazy. I'm curious where that is, Emma. I didn't know you lived somewhere that got that toasty. I don't know if I knew anywhere in England got that toasty. I'm just rearranging my windows. I feel like weather is going to be like a major topic of conversation this summer. Cambridgeshire. Okay, I know roughly where that is. It's west of London, right? It's out past Heathrow and everything. 109 next week. Youch. We hit 103 about a week ago, about 8 days ago, I guess, which is 39 Celsius. So really freaking warm. East. Oh, I'm thinking of Oxford. Oxford is west. I was close adjacent a little bit, not really. So something I found really interesting that I heard, because I grew up in Canada, and I was born the year that Canada switched to Celsius and the metric system. So a lot of the older generation was still on imperial, and then I came to the States, which is still on imperial, but it's also on American imperial, whereas Canada was on British imperial, and there are important subtle differences. But I heard something the other day that was really interesting. Now I speak both Fahrenheit and Celsius. I can't always get the translation exact, but I sort of like know what's hot and what's cold and what's not. Like Celsius, minus 20 is colder than you want to go out, and 40 is definitely hotter than you want to go out. So you get the entire sort of human range in about 60 degrees. Whereas Fahrenheit, zero works out to, what does 0 Fahrenheit work out to? It's like around minus 20 as well, minus 17, minus 18 Celsius, and 100 is right around 40. It's actually a little bit over 40. It's like 42. But so you get about 100 numbers between the coldest you're going to want to be outside at and the warmest you're going to want to be outside at. And the interesting thing that I heard that I thought was just kind of funny was Celsius is how water feels about temperature. 0 is freezing, 100 is boiling. Fahrenheit is how humans feel about temperature. 0 is as cold as you want to be out, and 100 is about as warm as you want to be out. I thought it was sort of an interesting way to look at it, because really they're both just arbitrary sets of numbers that humans made up to describe temperature. And while it certainly is easier to do math with one of them than it is the other, I thought that that framing of the systems was kind of an interesting way to look at it. So yeah, there's my random thoughts about temperature systems. And we do not have that many people here today. We've only got 5, 6. Pardon me. In the one group, no one watching on YouTube, and the other group is empty. I mean, I started a little bit late, but it wasn't that bad, folks. So what happens when I miss a week, right? Hey, Monica, is it hot in Monica? Hot in Monica. So many terrible ways that can be taken. Is it hot in Toronto, comma, Monica? I heard recently this year there was like a big writers conference in Toronto that I didn't hear about till after it was over. That sounded kind of cool. Did you get to go to that? And who's going to 20 books this year, or Author Nation, I should say? We'll be there, and apparently I get to speak. I just don't know when or what on. They haven't told me yet. But I just got back from LibertyCon in Chattanooga, Tennessee, which I really enjoyed, and I'm going to be going back to that next year. Let's see. Okay, today the week was pretty hot. Yeah, it cooled off here too. We got a lot of rain last night, and now it's only going to be, right now my room is 78. We're going to get up into the mid 80s, I guess, today. Before boarding the plane. Hey, Maya. Those are so many words you have there. Maya Sky Daniels Thompson. I wasn't sure who that was at first. But then like, oh, Maya Daniels. I know those names. Okay. I'm going to try and figure out when that is again, Monica, because I'd love to get back to Canuckistan. It's my favorite stand to go to. So yeah. So who here has seen the new flexible ad format in Facebook ads, or has tried to make a Facebook ad and Facebook told them dynamic creative is going away, or who's like lost the option to choose dynamic creative? I'm curious if anyone's seen any of those situations yet. Yeah, I'm actually Canadian, Monica. I grew up in Saskatchewan. I've been here in the States for so long, though. I've all but forgotten the feeling of grass and the taste of food. That was a Mordor joke from Lord of the Rings. I actually like the United States. I'm a weirdo. So if you haven't heard about the new flexible ad format, I did do a quick talk about it last week, just sort of briefly going over it. And basically what it is it looks like Facebook is getting rid of dynamic creative, and they're blending all the functionality of dynamic creative into standard creative, which is good because it was always like a weird dichotomy. And bit by bit, they've been shaving off elements of dynamic creative and putting them into standard creative anyway. Oh, you know what, honey? For me in the group, it said like I was live and I had to click the little text that said is live now. And then it actually took me to the video. It was really weird. Otherwise, I think this streaming into multiple group thing actually makes it so that the live shows up weird, which is kind of pesky. Flexible option, but still use dynamic for now. That's good. Might as well the old ad creative, but please until a new system. Yeah, it's and one of the things that's happening to some people who are getting flexible is they can actually only make their ad text 255 characters long, which is like, I don't know, 255 divided by 6. However many words that is. It's not a lot of words. Oh, pardon me. It's like 30, 40 words long, depending on how you measure those sorts of things. That was bizarre, honey. Jill's messaging me on my Facebook page saying she can't find the video. I'm just going to put the link in for her. Oh, she's not going to be able to see it. Never mind, because it'll only go to YouTube. There we go. I just messaged the link to Jill so she can find it. Facebook, be weird like that. Anyway, yeah, it's the flexible creative is really, really weird. And like the thing that terrifies me is that they might actually make that 255 character limit thing like the limit, which is kind of horrifying, because I feel like that removes a lot of options for what we could do. Um, the one thing that I think is going to be the saving grace, and I haven't got to fully test this out yet because I'm going to need to see some data over time to see how it goes. But you can still write really long text for the description, which is normally below the headline, and it oftentimes doesn't show. But in dynamic creative, Facebook will frequently show the description above the text to see how it goes. So that might be the way that we get long text in if they do enforce that shorter limit. You can't put page breaks or line breaks into the description, but if you type it out in something else and then paste it in, then you can put line breaks into the description. So I think that's pretty handy. So if you guys do encounter that, then that might be some workarounds. And I think we're going to have to like see. I was hoping Facebook would make a decision fairly quickly about what they're going to do and how they're going to roll out flexible, but apparently we're just going to be in limbo for some amount of time. And they have a bit of a bad habit of making their rollouts excruciatingly slow sometimes. Like I think with dynamic creative, it took months before everybody had access to it. Hopefully that doesn't happen now. They seem to be better about not making a bifurcated experience in Facebook ads. They used to be like at any given time, like there were like 6 different versions of Ad Manager that all look different. They seem to be better about it, so hopefully they stay better. I misunderstood, honey. I actually did do the everyone already. I missed that message. But I did not do the everyone in the 5-day ad challenge group if you want to do it there. So yeah, train of thought, it went choo-choo off the tracks. So yeah, this last weekend I was in Chattanooga, Tennessee at LibertyCon, which is a science fiction fan convention, which is pretty cool because like I feel like if you can find fan conventions for your genre, you definitely need to go to them, because even just like the pick me up of encountering random people who've read your book is super awesome. Like I've sold around 2 million books at this point, if that counting KU reads, and it still sort of like blows my mind to encounter people who said they've read a whole bunch of my books. And like not like people who are coming up to me with books to sign, but just like, oh yeah, I've read your books, I really like them. And in the middle of a conversation, I'm just like, what? It's so weird. But I was the literary guest of honor at this convention, and like the board had read my books, and the conference runner head person had read my books and whatnot. It was kind of wild. And it was also fun to like to get to hang out with like some of the folks that like I read when I was young, like Todd McCaffrey, for example, is always cool to hang out with. And of course, his mother was Anne McCaffrey, who wrote Dragon Riders of Pern. And he's written a bunch of Pern books too. And I'm just like chilling with him when we're talking ads and random stuff and whatnot. He was in the military too. And I saw at one point I got sucked into the military conversations. I'm just sort of like the one non-military person talking about where they're all talking about military experiences. The mistress of ceremonies at that con was a U.S. Army helicopter pilot, and she looked every inch the U.S. Army helicopter pilot. She was like I've just envisioned her as like the pilot from Aliens, who unfortunately got eaten by the alien, but was pretty badass until then. I liked her. Anyway, so I'm curious if anyone has any questions about Facebook ads, anything they're encountering right now, any stats they've got that they aren't sure how to interpret. I'll be happy to answer any questions about that if anyone has any. And I'm also going to talk a bit about summertime and running ads in summer. So a couple of things have gone on in June, which is over in 3 days, and I'm not ready to accept that. It makes me very sad. But one of the things that's gone on in June is school gets out. I'm sure you guys know about this. And it always creates a dip in reads and sales because people are going to be having to deal with childcare issues. Grandparents who maybe are like your big readers, people who are a little bit older who read a lot of your books, are now watching the grandkids because summer camps haven't started yet, and the parents can't get out of work to watch the kids, and vacation time hasn't started yet. So that happens a lot in June. And then last week was the Zoe Bub as well. It only had 1,000 books in it, but that usually, if you're in romance or romance adjacent genres, that will cause a dip the week that Zoe Bub comes out. So if you saw a big dip last week and you're like, I didn't change anything, what's going on? It was probably the Zoe Bub. So you should be seeing the beginnings of a recovery if you did get hit by the Zoe Bub. If you saw that dip, I think the Zoe Bub was last Tuesday or Thursday. It was a day that ends in Y. All right, Monica says, I have a question. Someone offered me this audience. How do I narrow by interest? Is it different than how do I narrow by interest? Is it different than interests? Women 21 plus, interest E.L. James, Sylvia Day, Diana. Oh, I gotta hit see more to see the full comment here. Okay, so what they mean by that, actually, I'll just show you. Give me 2 shakes of a lamb's leg here. And I'll just pull up, show you how to do that audience. New traffic campaign, edit, present, share screen. It's going to narrate everything as we go here. All right, so down here in audience land, first we got to switch to original audience options because you can't be in this if you have audience controls and advantage plus audience, you're in the new system and the new system sucks. Maybe someday it'll be better, but it's not yet. So switch to original audience options and then choose use original audience, and you got to scroll down to your interests. So I'm not going to pick all of these, but what they're saying is, so women 21 plus, I generally go 25 plus unless you're like really hitting NA targets with your story. So we'd have like E.L. James, for example. Man, do I actually have to spell this out? E.L. James? Do I need the periods? There we go. E.L. James. And you'd be, Sylvia Day. I think that was one of the other ones I saw there. Sylvia. There we go. Day. And so you'd fill in all those ones all the way down to contemporary romance. And then you would click so theirs probably said narrow further or narrow by. Yours might say that, or it might say define further. So that's all the same thing. So then you click define further in my case, or narrow by, or whatever. And then you put in Desperate Housewives, etc. And I'm guessing that'll build like a decently large audience. I'm actually kind of curious how big it builds it. We'll do the whole thing. Diana G, Labadon, Nora Roberts, Danielle Steele, and then contemporary romance. Danielle Steele. Contemporary romance. All right, so we're up to 2.6 million. And then I need to, and so what this means right now is that they have to like one of these, and then they also have to match anything down here. And right now we've only got one thing down here. So their current interest set is one of these and Desperate Housewives. But as we add more, we should see that 2.6 number go up. So Gossip Girl. And what this is kind of doing in an audience like this is like saying, hey, people who like romance and these types of romance and also watch these TV shows, which might further narrow down the kinds of tropes that the people are interested in, then they're going to like what you have. Love. So these TV shows, if these TV shows do not align with what you write, then they would be a bad choice, and you would want to try and find TV shows that align with what you write. I mean, I'm guessing they're probably aligned. Otherwise, you would have looked at it and said, this is terrible, won't work. Shameless? Oh. I'm doing this large just because I'm curious how big this audience will get. We're already up over 12, 13 million, which is good. With romance audiences, you really want it to be like 2 million at the absolute minimum, shooting more for at least for like 5 to 10 as your minimum. Over 10, we're good. Skins. I don't even know what Skins is. I haven't heard of that. The Affair. Tudors, Vampire Diaries, and True Blood. Tudors, Vampire D. So that's all about anyway, right? Oh, I think I picked the novels. And Vampire Diaries television show and True Blood. It's an interesting like mix. Like we're like we've got vampires and we've got like Sex in the City and Desperate Housewives. So like they could like Danielle Steele and Vampire Diaries, and that would get a match. Or they could like Nora Roberts and the Tudors, and that would get a match. So this is it got a bit broad when we added in vampire type TV shows and mixed them with Desperate Housewives. That feels like a really broad audience, quite honestly. Um, so I feel like one would need to unless those things really do match, and you're like, yep, any of those combinations could work. Then like, okay, it does feel a little bit too broad for me though. Mafia romance with high heat. If you write mafia romance with high heat, I would just take out I would take out Vampire Diaries and True Blood. Like if I pull those guys out, I don't know what Skins is, so I don't know if that's a vampire thing as well. I'm not sure if familiar with Shameless, but we're still at 13 million. I think that would be a great size. And yeah, I think this would be a really good way of getting a good high heat mafia romance audience for sure. I would definitely rock that. Does that make sense? How to do the narrowing? All lines. Emma, no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't use paranormal targets if I write contemporary. It's just pulling in people who like if those people already read contemporary romance, you're already going to hit them with the other one of the other targets. And you know, like by adding in Vampire Diaries and True Blood, I got 2 million more people that I didn't get before, which tells me those 2 million other people don't read the kind of thing I write. So I wouldn't put them in. None of the stuff I ever try to look for in those filters is crazy seeing stuff just populate. Yeah, Mike, I'm thinking it you don't write romance. Romance is fairly easy to target. I mean, that being said, there's still tons of huge authors that you can't target in romance as well. But man, if you write science fiction, you can like the only modern authors you can target are like Kevin J. Anderson and Brandon Sanderson. Like everybody else, you have to target authors from yesteryear, kind of thing. What do you write, Mike? I am off at Peaky Blinders. Yeah, Peaky Blinders. If you do that by itself, you might find like if you're going to add in TV shows and whatnot. So if on one side of like the grouping, you know, the define further or the narrow by is all TV shows, then everything in the other section should all be authors, literature, publications. So you at least make sure they're readers. Because if I was just to go and add like, you know, I'll get rid of all of these things here. I was just going to add like Scandal up here. So we're at 44 million. Actually, this might not make it that much bigger. Scandal, and we'll do like Vampire Diaries. So I added like 3 million people by doing this. Those 3 million, so I could match just on Vampire Diaries and not on any of these other things. So because these are connected with an or this or this or this or this or this. So if you were to do an audience where you could have like a big mishmash in here of like TV, I generally recommend not doing that just because it feels disorganized. But if you were to have a big mishmash, or you're just picking exclusively TV and movies, like if you write fantasy or science fiction, a lot of times just targeting TV and movies is actually a great way to go. Or like post-apocalyptic zombie, targeting TV and movies is great. You do all that up here, and you say define further. Then you say novels, or you say and you add novels and fiction books, which isn't like a guarantee that you're going to get people who read that kind of fiction, but they at least read fiction, so it's a good start. All right, science fiction, space opera, Asimov, and Star Wars. Star Wars is a hard one to target. What I target for sci-fi, I'll do. Normally, I talk about romance and whatnot, but I want to give my people some options here too. If you were to target Brandon Sanderson, I mean, he's a little bit more fantasy than sci-fi, but I mean, he wrote some of the Dune books. Kevin J. Anderson, who's written like everything. We'll do the big ones. Asimov. I think there's just one S in Asimov. Whoops. Larry Niven. Robert Heinlein. Who else? There's actually going to be some good suggestions here now. We do Ernest Cline. if you think that would work. He wrote Ready Player One. Who else? No, there's more I can pick in here. There's a lot more. The guy who wrote Neuromancer, Gibson. Oh, maybe I can't target Gibson. I forget his first name. If I knew his first name, I'd be able to do it. Man, I should be able to have more. I've done this before and picked up some pretty good audiences. Nope, that's not it. All gender SF lovers, old time SF authors. This is one I use a lot. There we go. So Kevin Anderson, Larry Niven, Anne McCaffrey, Arthur C. Clarke. Should have thought of him. I chose Ender's Game just because you couldn't target the author for that one. George Orwell, H.G. Wells, James S.A. Corey. I was trying to think of his name. I kept just thinking The Expanse. John Scalzi, who's fairly new. Kurt Vonnegut, Louis McMaster Bujold, Neil Stevenson, Margaret Atwood, Peter F. Hamilton, Philip K. Dick, Ray Bradbury, Ursula K. Le Guin, and William Gibson. William Gibson. There we go. And that's a decent sized audience that you can make there. 4.5 million people. I mean, it's not like romance audiences where I would consider 5 million to be a bare minimum, but this is also only 45 plus to 65 plus. And I've been finding lately, if you want to, you can reach younger people if you do video ads, and that brings us to 9 million people. That's a good size audience. You can hit a lot of people that way. So that might give you some thoughts on who you could get in there to build a big audience, Mike. We added fiction and books into Essential too. Good. That's awesome, Emma. Awesome to hear. So yeah. So what about next week, right? Like we talked about June, sort of a month in flux. And then the Zoe Bub hit. If you're writing romance, that will have had an impact. 1,000 free books suddenly being announced to all romance readers is going to do that. But next week is July 4th. So of course, if you're in the US, you'll remember that happens. And if you're in Canada and marketing mainly to Canadians, July 1st is when is July 1st? It's Monday? Sunday? I suddenly can't remember. For those of you who don't know, July 1st is Canada's birthday. Also an important day. It's Monday. Okay. So this coming weekend is a long weekend in Canada. And then next weekend's a long weekend in the US. You're welcome, Mike. So, as you're like frantically scribbling down all those names, right? So you are going to see lower reads next weekend. But if you have ads that are working well, do not adjust your spend on those ads, because Facebook can be persnickety these days. If you play around with spend too much and drop it down or pause ads, it's like Pet Sematary. They won't come back like they were. So just stay the course, because if your ads are profitable, they can weather a dip over a couple of days. You'll be all right. And you might still actually get people to be borrowing your books. They're just not going to start reading them right away because it's this busy weekend. They're going to start reading them the following week. So, or even just like they're browsing online, they see your ad and it's sort of like it stacks up in their head. And then next Tuesday when they see it, they're like, yeah, that's right. I've seen this ad a bunch of times. I'm going to grab that book. So even if you might not get as many conversions and reads next weekend, you are still, getting your ad in front of people. So long as the ad is profitable, leave it alone. Just let it do its thing. If your ad is not profitable, then you might want to decrease your spend or pause it. Like if it's like on the fence, then I would leave it alone. If it's decidedly not profitable, then it's going to be even more not profitable next weekend. So you might want to turn it off and then maybe remake it from scratch on Tuesday the 9th, after the holiday weekend is just like solidly over. Just remake the ad from scratch, and then you might have another shot. Because a lot of times, if you turn ads back on, like if it's an ad that's not working and you just turn it back on, it's already learned poorly with the audience. So chances are it's not going to work any better. But if you remake it from scratch, then it will go through a new learning process and it could actually come back better. So totally an option there. Multiple windows screen grabs are my friend. That's awesome. I love doing that too. On my ads manager, I do not have a column for result click-through rate. Is there so result rate, I'm guessing, is what you're looking for. There's a click-through rate as well, which I recommend not using. But But yeah, just give me two. Took myself away. I meant to take the other thing away. Okay. Just want to make sure I wasn't going to show any client data or anything like that. So when you're looking at the ad manager, you'll see up here, there's a button that has 3 vertical bars. It might even say the word performance or the word columns in there or something like that. Or it might say columns, performance, or just have the 3 bars. But if you click that, you'll get this drop down, and at the bottom is customized columns. You might have to scroll inside the drop down to get all the way down there. And once you go here, then you can add in things like result rate, and you can just search for like result rate. I recommend adding in result rate and frequency, and then maybe CPM as well, which is cost per million, which is cost per million, cost per mil, and is cost per 1,000 impressions. And that can kind of like, you can gauge your ads and be like, this one ad is $5 for 1,000 impressions, and this other ad is $17 for 1,000 impressions. And what that tells you is the ad that's at $17, Facebook is having a harder time finding an audience for that ad, or they're just a more expensive audience. But you can add a lot of things in here. I recommend not getting too carried away by adding in columns. Really, the main set that you're going to need is you don't need actions. We don't need outbound clicks. We don't need ads to cart, and we don't need landing page views. This is like the normal set of things that I run. You know, reach is the number of unique humans I'm reaching. Impressions, the total number of impressions I've got. And frequency is actually just impressions divided by reach. It's just a number that tells you how often the same people are seeing your ad. My results are going to be on a traffic ad. They're going to be my clicks. On like a direct sales ad, they're going to be my actual sales. And then my cost per result is my cost per outbound click is effectively what that is. And then result rate is the percentage of people who see the ad and then click. And these numbers will be enough to assess any ad if it's a traffic ad. If you're running a direct sales ad, then you'll also want to add in outbound cost per, you want to add in outbound clicks, and you'll also want to add in cost per outbound click. And then lastly, we want to be adding in cart, because we want to see our ads to cart. And I just turn off everything except for website ads to cart. So because when you're running a sales ad, your results is no longer a click, your result is a sale. So it might be useful to see your outbound click, and then your cost per result is actually the cost to make a sale. So if 17 people clicked and they all cost $2 to sell the book, then that cost you $34 to make the sale or something like that. So which wouldn't, depending on what you're selling, might be fine, might not be fine. So if you're running direct sales, then outbound clicks and cost per outbound click is good. And then also ads to cart is a useful metric to see as well if you're running direct sales ads. And I always put my amount spent at the end. All right. Question on targeting. Is the engaged shoppers group worthwhile group to target? No, I generally don't think so, Mike. All that it is it's people that have been known to click a button on an ad in the last I don't know, was it 2 weeks or something like that? So it's not like a super useful audience. I'll try it sometimes if I'm running an ad and I think I've got this bang on, I've got the right authors, the creative is bang on and whatnot. Why are people not converting? Sometimes then I'll try and add it in to see if maybe I can get people that are like a little bit more buy-y. But it's not one of my initial things that I do. It's like an additional test. Karen says, I have some ads that were doing great for a month and then conversion went down. When I change something in the ad, it kicks back into learning mode and the conversion is back to normal. It keeps happening and I can't figure out why. What you're encountering, Karen, is Facebook changing their targeting system over to being powered by AI. So it used to be that when you chose an audience and you went in here and you said, show my ad to people in the United States in this age group and these authors, it would just show it to people who match those authors. But what they've done now is they've turned on advantage detailed targeting for everybody. And advantage detailed targeting is AI powered as of this year. And what that means is, like, if they think your ad might do better if it's showing to other people, then they'll show it to other people and your selections be damned. Well, they keep your country correct, but they will ignore Actually, whether or not they ignore age is up for debate. They definitely will ignore your interest matching, though, with advantage detailed targeting on. So they'll start with that, but if they don't think they're getting good enough results, and by they I mean AI, that no one fully understands how they're processing this information, it will show to other people. And so what can happen with a lot of ads is they'll run just fine for a while, and then they'll peter out, and you'll do exactly what you did. You'll make some sort of change, and by making a change to the ad, it goes back into learning, and when it goes back into learning, it sort of sticks with what you've selected a little bit more to start with, at least, and you get good results. And then it peters out and you have to change something again. So one of the things I'll do a lot of the time is I will go in and just pull an author, put another author in. Sometimes you just recreate the ad from scratch, to force it to go, to basically abandon all the audience learning it did and just start with what you've selected again. And it is unfortunately just kind of the nature of the beast right now with Facebook, that because they've swapped over all their back-end targeting stuff to be more AI powered, and they're forcing this advantage detailed targeting on. It didn't used to be. It used to be a checkbox that I always said, do not check this checkbox. But because I've done this, basically the world you're describing is just the world we live in. It happens more to some people than others. We can't really apply logic to why it does or why it does not, because it's a black box, and to a certain extent, AI ad targeting is probably a black box to even the software developers who write it, because the way that AIs do their vector maps for learning is on a large scale is something that an individual human can't actually put inside their head to process. It's more like science, where you just like put in a number and then look at the number that comes out and then try to extrapolate from and find patterns from there. I find it hard to find cozy. This is on a different place. Vicky says, I find it hard to find cozy mystery comp authors, especially straight cozy without animals or ghosts. Yeah, that is a bit hard. You certainly can't. I mean, if you do use the categories on Amazon for that, you're gonna have to vet them all, because a lot of them aren't gonna be cozy at all. A lot of mystery authors who maybe have a cat, or paranormal authors who have a cat or something like that, are gonna stick them in cozy. In the cozy mystery category, or interest itself on Facebook isn't bad. And then a lot of times you can also just target by TV shows and then narrow down by authors and fiction books and whatnot. Right, Monica says, one more question. I'm trying out video ads using my successful TikToks. I let the video run in the Dynamic Creative until I got 150 clicks, and then I paused. Now I'm waiting for my Amazon attribution data to catch up. I understand if I don't get one buy or one full book read. Yeah, I would say with 150 clicks, you would expect to get one buy or one full book read. But then again, here's a tricky thing. The learning phase takes longer on Facebook than it used to because of the AI targeting. So learning phase can take a week now. So if we're getting, to be honest, with a video ad, 150 might not be enough, because you're probably going to get less than 10 cents a click. So 10 cents a click, 150 clicks is only $15. Yeah, you probably actually need more like 250 to 300 clicks with the way that targeting works now, to have a really solid idea. And part of that's it's just time. It just seems like no matter what, Facebook is going to take a bunch of time to also figure out your ad, regardless of money spent. Like, you're still looking bare minimum 3 days for learning, even if you spend a lot of money on the ad. So I think I would, and especially if you were to get that 150 clicks in one day just by dumping a bunch of money on, then that's definitely not going to be enough. So it kind of depends on a number of factors. I would say, if you're going to start your ad at $10 a day, you need to let it run for 4 days before you'll have a really good idea. But you should see some movement in reads around day 3 if you were spending $10 a day. So, but it's kind of crazy. I've had ads that I've run for people, and we'll fire them up. Like, we'll fire up a whole swath of ads, like 15, 20 ads or something like that. And some ads, just nothing for 7 days. And then boom, they become the best performing ads on the second week. So it is really hard to say sometimes. If there's no hard number that you can use. But I would say that I should expect to see some action on 150 clicks. But like I said, video ads can oftentimes be so cheap that you might not see that much that early on. So you might need to go up to maybe 250, I would say. All right, this was fun. I love doing this. I love chatting with you guys about various and sundry uh, Facebook things. It's always nice to be able to share the info with everybody. Um, we've got some things coming up that we're doing. We're doing a few more classes again right now. We have one that we're doing at the end of July on the new flexible ad format. Assuming that things solidify by then. And I guess if things haven't solidified, I'll walk through all the permutations, so we can all see the ways that it can look and what it might look like, and then how to deal with it. And that one's gonna be pretty cheap. I think it's like $37 for that class. It'll probably be a 3-hour class. And we'll talk a bit about creative and how to use different, like what kinds of creative we'll use and what all the different little options mean that and why some of them disappear and reappear when you make certain selections, because there's a lot in there. And then at the end of August, we're doing our advanced Facebook ads workshop again. It's 6 weeks. There's training and Q&A every week, and it's going to really walk through soup to nuts how to build Facebook ads well, how to analyze them, how to scale them, different types of Facebook ads, traffic, leads, sales ads, awareness ads, and then how to use different types of creative with each. The whole gamut, advanced audience building strategies that I generally don't get into on most talks because they take a bunch of time to go through. So a lot of cool things like that will be coming up. So if you're interested in either of those things, you can go to thewritingwives.com. And I think there's signups on the main page for at least one of those things. If not, you can always just open up a chat. There's like a chat with us button and just say like, hey, I'd like a link for one of these two things. I normally have them ready, but I forgot to have them ready. Or normally I have Jill to give me the links, but I don't think she's with us anymore. But anyway, or just message me or message Jill and just say like, hey, I'm interested in this thing. Can you throw me a link? So again, it's the end of July. We're doing, and they're all recorded too. So if you can't attend any of the live sessions, everything we do is recorded. Sometimes the recordings take to the next day to get to you because they have to be compiled and uploaded and yada, yada, yada. But everything is always recorded for classes like that. So end of July is going to be on the flexible ad format and how to leverage that. And then end of August is going to be that 6-week class on how to really kick butt, soup to nuts with Facebook ads. So, oh, look, Jill is here. Awesome. Hooray. Jill to the rescue. As always, she's always coming to save me. What about the, do we have one for the other one, honey? For the $37 one? Or is that still forthcoming? And I'm just hyping that. I might just be hyping that. She probably told me. Teaser class in July, no date yet. So I'm just teasing that. I just read the note she gave me on it. I should have done that. I should have checked that. So yeah, but I'm really excited about the advanced class because I feel like you get a lot of information and we're able to give it to you so much cheaper than it would cost if you were just doing a one-on-one consultation. Because one-on-one consultations, it chews up a lot of time for me and for you. I guess the same amount for you either way, but for me, it chews up a lot of time, and I can only I have to get a lot of value for myself out of that because for every hour I spend on screen, I spend an hour or two not on camera, researching things, double checking, following up on ads, that sort of thing. The class is such a great way of you getting all the same information, but the cost being spread out across multiple people, so that it's much cheaper for the individual person. And I love doing it for that reason because I want to be able to help people and give them a lot of this detailed information and not have it cost a ton of money. So, so hopefully that'll be useful for you guys. All right, I'm going to go because I've got my team meeting coming up in 10 minutes. So I'll talk to you all later. And I hope you have an absolutely fabulous weekend. And I hope wherever you are, it's not too hot and that you can submerge yourself in water if needs be. And we'll see you next week. Same time, same channel. Bye.